the ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare at exactly the same time it is becoming increasingly valuable. Cal Newport. In his book Deep Work, Newport reveals that cultivating intense, uninterrupted focus is the key to mastering your craft, producing high-quality work, and finding deeper meaning in what you do. Focus is a superpower. In a world addicted to distraction, the ability to concentrate without interruption is one of the most valuable skills you can develop. But here's the catch. It's also becoming one of the rarest. In this video, we'll break down the big ideas and practical rules from the book, so you can train your mind, reclaim your attention, and start living and working with more depth. The book is divided into two main parts. Part 1, the idea. Newport explains why deep work is so important, economically, intellectually, and even spiritually. He makes the case that deep work is a superpower in today's distracted world. Part 2, the rules. This is where theory meets practice. Newport lays out 4 concrete rules to help you build deep focus, eliminate distractions, and take control of your time. By the end of this video, you'll understand the science behind deep work, how to apply it in your daily life, and why choosing focus isn't just about productivity. It's about creating a more meaningful life. If you're ready, let's dive in. Introduction. Let's start with a story. Carl Jung, one of the most influential thinkers in psychology, once made a radical decision. In the 1920s, as he broke away from Sigmund Freud and the dominant ideas of the time, Jung withdrew from the chaos of professional and personal life. He built a stone tower by the shores of Lake Zurich in Bollingen, Switzerland, a place with no electricity, no running water, and most importantly, no interruptions. He spent weeks there, disconnected from the world, diving into his thoughts, writing, and shaping the theories that would change psychology forever. This wasn't leisure, it was deliberate, focused solitude, his sanctuary for deep work. Years earlier, Mark Twain understood the same principle. While spending a summer at Quarry Farm in New York, he worked in a small shed on the property. It was a dedicated writing space, separate from the main house, where he could immerse himself fully. The shed was so isolated that his family had to blow a horn to call him back for meals. Twain knew that deep creative work demanded more than time. It demanded total presence. Decades later, Woody Allen took a similarly focused approach. One of the most prolific filmmakers of the 20th century, Allen never owned a computer. He avoided email entirely. He wrote all his screenplays on a 1950s Olympia SM3 manual typewriter, following a strict daily routine. That focused lifestyle led to a body of work that includes over 50 films, 4 Academy Awards, and 24 Oscar nominations, all without the noise of modern digital life. Even in our hyper-connected age, the need for deep focus hasn't gone away. When J.K. Rowling was finishing Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, she found herself unable to focus at home, so she famously checked into a suite at the Balmoral Hotel in Edinburgh. In that quiet, undisturbed space, she completed the final chapter of a series that would define a generation. She later called it one of the most productive periods of her life. What unites these creators across generations isn't just talent, it's intention. They each designed environments that protected their most valuable asset, the ability to think deeply. But the modern world pulls us in the opposite direction. We live in a culture of what Newport calls shallow work, replying to emails, jumping between browser tabs, scanning notifications, sitting in meetings that go nowhere. These tasks feel urgent but rarely lead to breakthroughs or lasting value. And in today's information economy, that's a real problem. As Cal Newport puts it, it's never been easier to reach potential customers, publish ideas, or build an audience. But that also means it's never been more competitive. If your work is mediocre or merely average, your audience will simply look elsewhere. This is the central tension explored in this book. Shallow work is easy to replicate and easy to replace. Deep work is hard to replicate, and therefore extremely valuable. Newport calls this the deep work hypothesis. The ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare at exactly the same time it is becoming increasingly valuable. In other words, the ability to focus is becoming a superpower, and it's not just about being more productive. It's about doing work that matters. Part 1. The idea. Let's begin with a bold claim. Deep work isn't just a productivity hack. It's a competitive advantage in the modern economy. In the following chapters, we'll explore why deep work is true, how it works, and what separates the top performers from the rest. Chapter 1. Deep work is valuable. In the early 2000s, Nate Silver wasn't famous yet. He was quietly building statistical models for baseball, doing his work in quiet solitude, poring over numbers, refining algorithms, tracking patterns that most people overlooked. Then he turned his focus to politics. In 2008, while mainstream pollsters got it wrong, Silver's blog 538 correctly predicted the outcomes in 49 out of 50 states. His edge wasn't luck, it was depth. Deep work. The kind of focus that turns noise into solid, heavy data. In Silicon Valley, another story unfolded. When Jack Dorsey was running both Twitter and Square, $2 billion companies at once, people assumed he must be constantly switching, hustling nonstop. But Dorsey didn't multitask. He designed a system to protect his focus. Each day of his week had a theme. Mondays were for management, Tuesdays for product, Wednesdays for marketing, and so on. By giving his attention fully to one area at a time, he kept context switching to a minimum and his impact to a maximum. Now zoom out. Across the economy, a major shift has been unfolding. The Great Restructuring. Technologies are racing ahead, but many of our skills and organizations are falling behind. As intelligent machines improve, the gap between machine and human performance shrinks. Employers are becoming increasingly likely to hire new machines instead of new people. It's what MIT researchers Eric Brynjolfsson and Andrew McAfee call a race against the machine. In their book of the same name, Brynjolfsson and McAfee emphasize that the Great Restructuring is not driving down all jobs, but instead dividing them. Routine work will be automated, but those who can master complexity, create original value, and adapt quickly will thrive more. They identified 3 groups reaping the greatest rewards in this new landscape. 1. The high-skilled workers, the likes of Nate Silver, ones who can collaborate with smart machines. 2. The superstars, those whose talents scale globally through digital platforms. The aces of their fields, one would say, the best of the best. 3. The owners, those who control capital, systems, and leverage. The ones who can invest in the new technologies that are driving the Great Restructuring. If you are like me, your average Joe, you're most likely to not have access to amassing great quantities of capital. So being an owner will be harder to attain. Not impossible, just more difficult. But the other 2 groups? Far more accessible. To join them, you need 2 core abilities. The ability to quickly master hard things, and the ability to produce at an elite level in both quality and speed. And as Cal Newport puts it, if you don't produce, you won't thrive, no matter how skilled you are. Which brings us back to a forgotten voice from over a century ago. In 1921, French philosopher Antonin Dalmatse Sertillanges wrote The Intellectual Life, a guide for thinkers and creatives. In it, he shared a simple truth. Men of genius themselves were great only by bringing all their power to bear on the point on which they had decided to show their full measure. In other words, concentration creates genius. It's the same insight that modern psychologists now call deliberate practice, a form of intense, focused effort that builds real skill. On a neurological level, it changes your brain. Each time you engage in deep, focused work, your brain wraps more myelin around the neural circuits involved, insulating them, speeding them up, making them more efficient. The more myelin you build, the sharper your skills become. That's the invisible architecture of mastery. But deep work isn't just about how long you work. It's about how deeply you focus. Newport puts it simply, high-quality work equals time spent times intensity of focus. Yet most of us lose the game before we begin. We answer emails in between meetings, scroll social media during research, We're constantly switching, and that creates attention residue. Every time you move from one task to another, part of your brain stays stuck in the previous task. Even after you've shifted focus, your performance suffers. Your brain is not fully in the present. That's why Nate Silver built an empire on spreadsheets and silence. That's why Jack Dorsey themes his days. They aren't just working hard, they're protecting their most precious resource: attention. Chapter 2. Deep work is rare. Walk into any modern office today, and you'll likely see the same thing. An open floor plan. No cubicles, no walls. Just rows of desks, low partitions, and the constant hum of casual chatter. This wasn't an accident. Over the past 2 decades, companies like Facebook, now Meta, embraced a trend: open office architecture, in the name of collaboration. The idea was simple: tear down physical barriers, and you'll spark more serendipitous conversations, faster communication, more creativity. In theory, it sounded great. In practice, not so much. Open offices may create more opportunities for collaboration, but they do so at the cost of massive distraction. These environments actively hinder an employee's ability to go deep. The same problem that arises when workers are bombarded by emails or constantly pulled into the black hole of social media. The metric black hole. Consider the story of Tom Cochran, a tech executive who once worked for the Obama administration. At one point, Cochran calculated how much time the White House staff spent on email. The number shocked him. Over $1 billion in salaried man-hours were being consumed just by answering emails. These hours could have been spent on projects, strategy, or innovation, but instead they were swallowed by shallow communication. Yet, no one questioned it. Because in modern offices, responsiveness equals value. If you reply fast, you're on top of things. If you're always available, you're a team player. But actually, it's a trap. What Cochran discovered was what Cal Newport calls the metric black hole: the absence of clear, meaningful indicators for cognitive work. Unlike factory floors or sales targets, knowledge work lacks obvious measures of productivity. So, people fall back on what's visible: busyness. The principle of least resistance. This behavior isn't due to laziness, it's human nature. Specifically, it's a reflection of the principle of least resistance, the idea that people gravitate toward behaviors that are easiest in the moment. In the modern workplace, that often means sending a quick email instead of thinking deeply, scheduling a meeting instead of crafting a solution, responding to messages instead of blocking time for focus. There's no immediate penalty for shallow work, and no obvious reward for depth. So we follow the path of least resistance. Always on, always behind. A team at Boston Consulting Group once ran a bold experiment. Take one day out of the work week completely off. No connectivity between anyone outside or inside the company. At first it felt impossible, but over time, the results were shocking. The team didn't lose clients and members didn't lose their jobs. Instead, the consultants found more enjoyment in their work, better communication among themselves, and perhaps most importantly, better products delivered to the clients. Why? Because constant connectivity was silently killing their ability to think. The additional day off created room for recovery, clarity, and depth. Busyness as a proxy for productivity. In 1979, physicist Richard Feynman was asked to serve on a prestigious NASA panel. He declined, saying bluntly, "I'm irresponsible." Of course, Feynman wasn't irresponsible. He was a Nobel Prize-winning genius, but he had to fabricate a persona of unavailability to protect his most valuable asset: his time. Feynman guarded his time like a dragon guards gold. He knew that brilliant thinking doesn't happen when you're constantly on call, but most people don't have that luxury. We work in environments that reward busyness more than brilliance. As Newport writes, in the absence of clear indicators of what it means to be productive and valuable in their jobs, many knowledge workers turn back toward an industrial indicator of productivity, doing lots of stuff in a visible manner. The cult of the internet. And then, layered on top of all this, comes the digital flood. We now live in what Neil Postman called a technopoly, a culture that surrenders its decision-making to technology. If a tool exists, we feel obligated to use it. If a platform gains traction, we feel pressured to join. That's how entire careers get built on Twitter threads and LinkedIn engagement. Being online becomes synonymous with being relevant. But all of this comes at a cost. Cognitive fragmentation. You can't go deep while chasing likes. You can't enter flow while monitoring notifications. You can't produce brilliance when your brain is hijacked by a dozen tabs and an inbox screaming for attention. Why deep work should be a priority, but isn't? Here's the paradox. In today's economy, deep work is more valuable than ever, but it's treated like a luxury. Companies say they want innovation, excellence, and high performance. But their systems reward speed, visibility, and shallow busyness. That's why deep work is rare. That's why it's becoming a superpower. Because in a world addicted to distraction, the person who can focus wins. Chapter 3. Deep work is meaningful. Most people assume that happiness comes from freedom, from ease, from leisure, from not having to try so hard. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if meaning, real, lasting meaning, is something we earn, not something we stumble into? The blacksmith in the 21st century. In a small town in Wisconsin, a man named Rick Furr forges swords by hand. Not as a hobby, as a way of life. In his workshop, the rhythm of hammer-striking steel echoes with history. Each blade takes days of focused, solitary labor. It's physically exhausting, mentally taxing, demanding in every sense. And yet, utterly meaningful. Furr isn't chasing fame or wealth. He's chasing excellence, mastery, depth. It's hard, but it's sacred. This is what deep work looks like in the real world. Not corporate buzzwords, but honest labor that demands your full attention and offers something rare in return. Purpose. Your world is what you pay attention to. After receiving a terrifying cancer diagnosis, psychologist Winifred Gallagher made a discovery that would reshape her life, and maybe ours too. She realized something simple but profound. She couldn't always control what was happening to her, but she could control what she focused on. So she made a choice. Instead of giving her attention to fear and suffering, she focused on beauty, love, stillness. And she noticed something extraordinary. Her experience of life became defined not by the pain, but by what she chose to notice. As she put it, the skillful management of attention is the sine qua non of the good life, and the key to improving virtually every aspect of your experience. In a distracted world, focus isn't just a productivity tool. It's a spiritual discipline. Your reality is shaped by your attention. What you pay attention to becomes your life. Why relaxation doesn't make you happy. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi spent decades studying what makes people feel truly alive. And the data surprised almost everyone. When asked what makes them happy, people say things like vacations, relaxation, or doing nothing. But when measured, the data showed something very different. People are happiest not when they're relaxing, but when they're immersed in a challenging activity, doing something hard, doing something just a little bit beyond their comfort zones. He called it flow, that magical state when time disappears and you're fully immersed in the task at hand. Flow requires effort, but it returns joy. So why doesn't it happen more often? Because flow doesn't come from binge-watching Netflix or scrolling endlessly. It comes from challenge and engagement, from deep work. In the book All Things Shining, philosophers Hubert Dreyfus and Sean Dorrance Kelly reflect on how notions of sacredness and meaning evolved throughout human history. One story stands out, that of a master wheelwright, a craftsman in the now-lost art of shaping wooden wagon wheels. To the wheelwright, every piece of wood is unique. Each one has a distinct grain, a personality, a voice. His job isn't to impose his will on the material, but to listen. They write that the task of the craftsman is not to generate meaning, but rather to cultivate in himself the skill of discerning the meanings that are already there. This is a radically different way of seeing work. It's not about chasing passion or prestige. It's about presence, patience, and care. Cal Newport puts it clearly. You don't need a rarefied job. You need a rarefied approach. You don't need to be a monk or an artist or a genius to find meaning in your work. You need to go deep. Show up with focus. Practice with intention. Push through boredom. That's where meaning lives. Part 2. The rules. Rule number 1. Work deeply. The eudaimonia machine. Architect David Dewayne once conceptualized a theoretical building called the eudaimonia machine, inspired by the Greek word eudaimonia, meaning human flourishing. It's a space structured to optimize deep work. The building is structured in 5 stages, each space pulling you deeper into focus. Stage 1. The gallery. A space of inspiration. This room showcases deep, meaningful work, a reminder of what's possible. It sets the tone and primes the mind for depth. Stage 2. The salon. A lounge for ideas, debate, and intellectual exchange. It's where minds mingle and ideas take shape. Stage 3. The library. A quiet space for learning, reflection, and absorption. Here you gather knowledge, go deep into research, and begin preparing to create. Stage 4. The office. Where shallow tasks are handled. Planning, organizing, and light prep. And the last one, Stage 5. The chamber. The heart of the machine. A minimalist room for pure, uninterrupted, deep work. The deeper you go into the building, the deeper you go into your mind. While the eudaimonia machine is just a concept, its structure offers a blueprint for your life. You can design your day the same way. Start your morning with inspiration. Read something meaningful. Reflect on your goals. Create space for thought. Talk with others. Take notes. Set aside time for learning. Block time to read, absorb, and go inward. Warm up with easier tasks, and then enter your deep work chamber, a space, physical or mental, where nothing else enters but the work that matters. To do your most meaningful work, you need to move past distraction, through stages of increasing depth, until you reach a place of clarity and flow. Willpower is finite. Newport wrote, "You have a finite amount of willpower that becomes depleted as you use it. Do not rely on self-control alone. Instead, structure your environment to remove temptation before it strikes. Protect your focus." The philosophies of deep work. Everyone's life is different. Some have long blocks of time. Others steal moments between meetings. That's why there's no one-size-fits-all approach to deep work. Cal Newport outlines 4 core philosophies. You can adopt one, blend them, or evolve your method as your life changes. The goal is simple. Create a sustainable system for going deep. 1. The monastic philosophy. Total isolation for total focus. Carl Jung built a stone tower in the woods to write. Donald Knuth removed email from his life to focus on research. This philosophy is about cutting off all distractions to fully commit to deep work. It's not for everyone, but if you can create long, uninterrupted stretches, it's the most powerful. 2. The bimodal philosophy. Split your life into deep work mode and everything else. Adam Grant blocks off weeks at a time for focused research. Outside those weeks, he's open to teaching, meetings, and collaboration. If you can't go monastic full-time, go monastic part-time. Batch your deep work into dedicated phases. 3. The rhythmic philosophy. Make deep work a daily habit. Not everyone can vanish for weeks, but everyone can create a rhythm. Famous comedian Jerry Seinfeld wrote jokes daily. His rule? Don't break the chain. This method builds momentum. Even 60 to 90 minutes a day compounds over time. It's the most sustainable path for many. 4. The journalistic philosophy. Drop into deep work whenever time allows. Walter Isaacson wrote biographies while running Time magazine. He trained himself to dive into deep focus, even on vacation or between meetings. This is the most flexible, but also the hardest. It demands discipline, practice, and the ability to flip the deep work switch instantly. Choose your philosophy, adjust it as needed, but commit to one principle above all. Your best work lives on the other side of deep focus. Ritualize. Newport said, "Great creative minds think like artists, but work like accountants." Deep work isn't about waiting for inspiration. It's about creating conditions where inspiration has to show up. That means building rituals, predictable, repeatable systems that remove friction and invite focus. Ask yourself, where will you work? A consistent location cues your brain for focus. How long will you work? Set clear start and end times. Protect them. How will you work? No phone. No tabs. Use time blocks, Pomodoro, or whatever works for you. How will you support your work? Rest, hydration, food, light. Your environment matters more than you think. The 4DX system. To stick with your deep work goals, Newport borrows from the business world. The 4 disciplines of execution, 4DX. Use this system to move from wishful thinking to measurable results. 1. Focus on the wildly important. Choose 1 to 2 goals that truly matter. Everything else is noise. 2. Act on lead measures. Track what you can control, like hours spent in deep work, instead of only chasing outcomes. 3. Keep a compelling scoreboard. Make progress visible. A wall chart, journal, or app that tracks your streak helps you stay honest and motivated. 4. Create a cadence of accountability. Review your performance weekly. Ask, did I do the work? Where did I fall off? What's next? Discipline creates freedom. Rituals and systems aren't constraints. They're the keys that unlock your deepest, most meaningful work. Be lazy. Tim Kreider said, idleness is not just a vacation. It's as indispensable to the brain as vitamin D is to the body. Downtime is not wasted time. It restores energy, strengthens insight, prepares you for your next deep work sprint. Attention Restoration Theory, or ART. This theory suggests that spending time in nature or natural-like environments can restore attention and cognitive function after depletion. It proposes that natural environments gently engage our attention, allowing our minds to rest and replenish their capacity for directed attention. Nature, music, rest, these things restore our cognitive capacity. If you want to go deep, you also have to go soft. The workday shutdown ritual. Newport ends his day with this phrase, shutdown complete. It's a cue, a clean break. This habit clears the mental slate, so tomorrow's deep work doesn't begin with today's residue. The Zeigarnik effect. Scientist Bluma Zeigarnik discovered that your brain remembers incomplete tasks and keeps the mental loop open. That's why open loops create stress. To protect your focus, close the loops, leave no loose threads. Wrap up your work completely, so your mind can rest and reset. Rule number 2, embrace boredom. We live in a world that fears silence. Stillness feels uncomfortable. We reach for our phones in every gap, in line at the grocery store, waiting for the elevator, even mid-conversation. Distraction has become our default. But here's the problem. Focus is a skill. And every time we escape into distraction, we weaken that skill. Most people take breaks from focus. They treat concentration like a burden, something to escape from every few minutes. But Cal Newport flips the script. He said, don't take breaks from distraction. Take breaks from focus. What does that mean? It means distraction shouldn't be the baseline. You don't earn 5 minutes of scrolling just because you focused for 10. Instead, make focus your default mode and step intentionally away from it when you need a rest. It's a mindset shift. Don't work in short bursts between distractions. Work in deep, undisturbed blocks between breaks. It's the difference between a scattered mind and a trained one, between passive reactivity and deliberate mastery. Digital detox. Create space for your brain to breathe. Take an internet Sabbath. 1 day a week, go completely offline. No email, no social, no passive browsing. Use website blockers. Make distraction harder than focus. Use tools like cold turkey or freedom to protect your attention. Remove your phone. Out of sight, out of mind. When you're working deeply, keep your phone in another room, or at least on airplane mode. Work like Teddy Roosevelt. When he was a student at Harvard, Theodore Roosevelt juggled time for studying, writing books, leading clubs, and competitive boxing. And yet, he rarely worked past dinner time. How? Roosevelt knew his schedule was packed, so he imposed strict time limits on his study hours. This created a self-imposed urgency, what Cal Newport later called the Roosevelt Dash. During those hours, Roosevelt worked with absolute intensity. No multitasking, no socializing, no breaks. He wasn't vague about when to start or stop. He'd say, from 1 to 4, I read this chapter. Then I'm done. This forced him to utilize time efficiently and effectively. Productive meditation. Use moments of physical activity, walking, running, showering, to work through a problem in your mind. But here's the catch. You must direct your thoughts. Pick one problem. Think it through deliberately. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back. This builds cognitive endurance, just like meditation builds emotional endurance. Beware of looping. One common trap: working without progress. You're technically thinking, but you're spinning in circles. Break the loop by structuring your thinking. Write down the problem. Outline possible angles. Push beyond surface ideas. Force clarity. Train your memory to train your mind. Cal Newport shares the story of a student who learned to memorize an entire deck of cards using the memory palace technique. Why? To build raw focus. Just like lifting weights builds muscle, deliberate mental strain increases your attention span. It teaches your mind to hold more, for longer, with clarity. Treat your concentration like an athlete treats training. Rule number 3. Quit social media. David Rees, the cartoonist behind Get Your War On, achieved massive online success by focusing purely on his craft, deliberately avoiding online networking distractions. Another cartoonist, Don Thurston, tried the opposite, spending significant time networking, replying to comments, and optimizing his online presence. Yet his work never took off. This highlights a common mistake: believing every digital tool or platform is necessary for success. Cal Newport calls this misconception the network tools fallacy. Not every tool is beneficial. Many simply distract you from doing truly meaningful work. Craftsman approach versus any benefit approach. Pritch and Hay illustrate 2 ways people approach tools. 1. The craftsman approach. Carefully selecting tools that clearly enhance performance and quality. 2. The any benefit approach. Using any tool if it offers even the slightest possible benefit, creating clutter and distraction. Cal Newport urges you to adopt the craftsman approach. Evaluate every tool by asking, does this directly contribute significant value to my core goals? The law of the vital few. 80% of your meaningful results typically come from just 20% of your efforts. Recognizing this helps you prioritize effectively. However, remember this: all activities, regardless of their importance, consume your same limited store of time and attention. Scrolling mindlessly drains the same mental resources you could use for deep, meaningful work. The 30-Day Network Isolation Challenge. Cal Newport proposes a 30-day digital detox. During this period, completely abstain from social media and network tools. After 30 days, ask yourself 2 crucial questions. 1. Would my past 30 days have been better if I had used social media? 2. Did anyone genuinely notice or care that I was offline? You'll likely discover that life was richer and calmer without social media's constant noise, and that your absence was less impactful than you feared. FOMO and digital distractions. Companies intentionally capitalize on your fear of missing out, but true power comes from deliberately missing out on distractions. Your attention is finite. Guarding it fiercely helps you focus deeply on what truly matters. Arnold Bennett, a renowned British writer, advocated for thoughtfully planned leisure. He emphasized, put more thought into your leisure time. Bennett explained, mental faculties are capable of continuous hard activity. They do not tire like an arm or a leg. All they require is change, not rest, except in sleep. Instead of using the internet for passive entertainment, choose activities that refresh your mind and enrich your life. Quit social media not because it's inherently evil, but because your life deserves better than constant distraction. Rule number 4. Drain the shallows. In the tech industry, relentless hustle and endless meetings are common. However, the software company Basecamp, formerly known as 37 Signals, chose a different path. They adopted a 4-day workweek to deliberately reduce shallow tasks, such as unnecessary meetings, frequent email checks, and busy work, and prioritize deep, meaningful activities. The result? Increased productivity, improved employee satisfaction, and a thriving business. Limit your deep work. Cal Newport emphasizes the importance of recognizing your daily limits. If you're just starting out, aim for 1 hour of deep work per day. For experienced practitioners, up to 4 hours is ideal. This isn't a rigid rule, it's a guideline. Some days you'll go longer, other days shorter. But aiming for that range helps you build sustainable productivity. The kind that lasts not just for a week, but for a lifetime. Schedule every minute. Studies reveal people vastly underestimate the time they waste on trivial tasks like watching TV or scrolling social media. Newport recommends scheduling every minute of your day with clear, deliberate intent. Time blocking. Allocate specific blocks of time for particular tasks. Overflow conditional blocks. Reserve flexible slots to handle tasks that run longer than expected. Structure your day thoughtfully. Planned flexibility enhances productivity and peace of mind. Quantify the depth. Evaluate every activity by its depth. Cal Newport advises quantifying each task. Shallow work. Low value, easily replicated tasks. Deep work. High value, cognitively demanding tasks. Ask your boss for a shallow work budget to keep trivial tasks controlled and minimal. Fixed schedule productivity. Newport recommends to commit to finishing your workday consistently at 5:30 p.m. This fixed schedule enforces discipline and productivity. Radhika Nagpal, a renowned computer scientist, successfully schedules 50 hours of deep work weekly, setting strict boundaries to protect her personal life and enhance her productivity. Become hard to reach. Protect your focus by making yourself less accessible. Tip number 1. Make senders of emails do more work. For example, request clear action items for senders to get your email address. Tip number 2. Put extra effort into replies to reduce back and forth emails. Tip number 3. Occasionally, simply don't respond. Recognize that not every message warrants your attention. Prioritize depth over superficial responsiveness. Your best work emerges from a disciplined, deliberate approach, not constant availability. Conclusion. Cal Newport ends the book with highlighting Bill Gates as an exemplary figure of deep work. Gates famously engaged in think weeks, isolated retreats where he immersed himself in uninterrupted reading and contemplation. These focused periods allowed Gates to gain profound insights and make strategic decisions that propelled Microsoft to immense success. Gates' approach illustrates the immense value and impact that dedicated deep work sessions can have, even in busy lives. Cal Newport himself attributes his professional achievements largely to the disciplined practice of deep work. Balancing a demanding academic career, Newport used the principles he outlined: careful time blocking, strict management of distractions, and prioritizing cognitively demanding tasks to publish influential research and best-selling books, including Deep Work. Newport's success story serves as a personal testament to the power of systematically embracing and applying the principles of deep work in both professional and personal growth. By adopting these strategies, anyone can significantly enhance their productivity and achieve a higher quality of work and life. Deep work isn't merely a productivity hack, it's a proven pathway to meaningful and impactful success. And with that, Your journey through the book Deep Work is complete. If you enjoyed this video and found value in this summary, I highly recommend picking up a copy of Cal Newport's book. What we covered here is just the surface. The book dives deeper with real stories, proven strategies, and practical tools that can truly transform your life. If you're on the path of adopting deep work, please leave a like. Comment the deep work strategies you'll be implementing or are currently using. And don't forget to subscribe for weekly content on self-improvement, philosophy, and timeless wisdom. And if you're ready to continue your learning journey, there's more waiting for you right here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.